I'm excited to see Viktor Gyökeres. What this guy brings is G. I don't hear about expected goals, I want to hear about goals.
Arsenal have signed Viktor Gyökeres, a striker who doesn't just score goals, he devours defenses. The Swedish assassin who left Pep Guardiola speechless, made Ederson look ordinary, and put every Premier League defender on red alert. He's not just the final piece, he's the piece that breaks the game. This transfer doesn't just strengthen the squad, it sends shockwaves through the league. A new era could be kicking off. We're about to witness the most complete transformation in modern football. This is why the Premier League must fear Arsenal signing Viktor Gyökeres. Let's be absolutely clear, this isn't just another exciting signing to add to your summer transfer tracker. This is a seismic shift in the balance of English football. Viktor Gyökeres to Arsenal under Mikel Arteta isn't just a good move, it's an execution. It's the kind of signing that forces every other Premier League manager to tear up their tactical notes and start again. Because what Arsenal have just acquired isn't simply a striker, they've landed the most lethal finisher in European football, the final weapon in a machine that was already terrifying. Gyökeres isn't potential, he's devastation. The Premier League has seen glimpses of his ruthlessness. Ask Pep Guardiola, ask City's defense, ask anyone who watched him dismantle the English champions like they were a Sunday League side. 97 goals in 102 matches for Sporting. Not inflated numbers, not tap-ins and penalties. These were surgical game-shifting goals scored from impossible angles in crucial moments against elite European opposition. His conversion rate last season was nearly 40%. His Champions League record reads like a video game cheat code. This isn't just form, this is a striker who's rewriting the logic of goal scoring. But here's where it gets frightening for every other Premier League club. Arsenal aren't planning to use him the way Sporting did. Sporting used him like a rare diamond, the crown jewel in an otherwise functional setup. Arteta wants to weaponize him. He wants to take that clinical edge, that predatory instinct, that absolute certainty in front of goal, and run it through the heart of a system built for relentless attacking with and suffocating possession. Picture this, Martin Zubimendi controlling the tempo in midfield, Bukayo Saka stretching defenses on the right, Martinelli's providing pace and unpredictability on the left, Martin Odegaard orchestrating from the number 10, and in the middle of it all, Gyökeres floating between the lines, attacking the 6-yard box, dragging center backs out of position, creating chaos where none should exist. You don't need to imagine it for long because he's already been doing exactly this at the highest level. Look at the data, look at the tape, the hat trick that destroyed Manchester City, the goals that clinched Sporting's title, the performances that made Real Madrid, Manchester United, and Bayern Munich take notice. This is a player who takes whatever pressure you give him, markers, physicality, hostile crowds, and turns it into fuel. And when you put him in Arteta's system, where the rotations are constant, where the striker doesn't just finish but initiates attacks, connects play, and destroys defensive structures, Gyökeres becomes unstoppable. He doesn't just occupy the box, he owns it, and yet he still gives you that intelligent movement, that link-up play, that work rate off the ball. It's like watching a 6'2" Thierry Henry who was forged in Portuguese football and perfected in the pressure cooker of Champions League nights. Arsenal aren't just buying talent anymore, they're assembling the perfect storm. And in that storm, Gyökeres isn't just another player, he's the eye of the hurricane. Arsenal have always had a thing for destiny, not the kind you wait for, the kind you create from chaos. And sometimes, the worst moments become the catalyst for the greatest decisions. January 12th, 2025, FA Cup against Manchester United. Gabriel Jesus goes down, ACL tear, season over, dreams shattered. At that moment, Arsenal looked cursed. What they didn't realize was that football had just handed them clarity. Then came Dubai. Kai Havertz, Arsenal's makeshift striker, their plan B turned plan A, tears his hamstring in training, surgery required, season seemingly over, 2 strikers down, the Emirates faithful watching their title hopes evaporate in real time. But here's what separates great clubs from good ones. Arsenal didn't panic, they planned, because while Jesus remains in rehabilitation, still months away from a return, and Havertz made his miraculous recovery just in time for the new season, Arsenal had learned something crucial. They had learned exactly what they were missing. Not just a striker, not just goals. They needed a killer, someone who didn't just fill the position but transformed it. Look at the numbers that haunted Arsenal's season. 14 league goals from Havertz playing out of position, 8 goals from Jesus before his injury, no player reaching 20 goals in all competitions. Manchester City had Haaland, Liverpool had their front 3, Arsenal had hope. Hope that someone somewhere would find the net when it mattered most. But football doesn't reward hope, it rewards execution. Enter Viktor Gyökeres. Not as a panic buy, not as a desperate scramble in the final days of the transfer window, but as the surgical solution to a problem that Arsenal's medical crisis had exposed with brutal clarity. While other clubs were chasing names and reputations, Arsenal had identified exactly what they needed, and more importantly, exactly who could deliver it. This is where the story gets beautiful, because Gyökeres isn't coming to Arsenal as a replacement for injured players. He's coming as an upgrade on everyone. Gabriel Jesus, at his peak, managed 27 goals in his best season across all competitions. Havertz, playing as a false 9, gave them movement and intelligence, but not the clinical edge. Gyökeres, 97 goals in 102 games, 54 goals in 52 games last season alone. Numbers that don't just improve Arsenal, they revolutionize them. And here's the psychological warfare that Arsenal have just unleashed on the Premier League. Every other club spent the season watching Arsenal's striker struggles and thinking, we can handle this Arsenal team. They're good, but they're not lethal. Now they're facing a team that was already finishing second in the league without a proper striker. A team that was already terrorizing defenses with Saka and Martinelli out wide. A team that was already creating chances like a machine. Except now the machine has bullets. The injuries that looked like disasters, they were disguised blessings. They forced Arsenal to confront their biggest weakness. They forced the club to act with precision instead of sentiment. They forced Arteta and sporting director Andrea Berta to identify not just any striker, but the right striker, and Viktor Gyökeres, the man who only wanted Arsenal, the player who refused to train at Sporting to force this move, the Swedish international who turned down bigger money elsewhere. He wasn't just available, he was inevitable. This is how champions are made. Arsenal's perfect storm wasn't the injuries, it was everything that came after. Mikel Arteta doesn't just coach football, he orchestrates it. Every pass, every run, every overload, it's all calculated, all purposeful. But even the most beautiful symphony sounds hollow without the right soloist. For 3 seasons, Arsenal played like virtuosos missing their lead violin. Now they have their maestro. What makes Gyökeres different isn't just what he brings, it's how he amplifies everything Arsenal already do. Under Arteta, Arsenal have mastered the art of positional play, the way they stretch defenses horizontally, create numerical superiority in wide areas, then suddenly switch the point of attack. But they were missing the final act, the moment of truth, the killer blow. Start with Rice or Martin Zubimendi, Arsenal's new metronome, the Spanish conductor who controls tempo like a Swiss watchmaker. His job isn't just to pass, it's to create the perfect conditions for chaos. And with Gyökeres ahead of him, every pass becomes a loaded weapon. Zubimendi finds Gyökeres between the lines. Gyökeres draws 2 defenders. Suddenly Saka is isolated one-on-one. It's chess played at lightning speed. But Gyökeres doesn't just receive passes, he transforms space. Watch how he moves at Sporting, not like a traditional number 9 pinned between center backs, but like a phantom, dropping deep to link play, then ghosting into the box just as the cross arrives, dragging defenders wide, then cutting inside when they least expect it. This isn't just an intelligent movement, it's tactical vandalism. Arsenal under Arteta have always been about creating controlled chaos. The way their fullbacks invert, their wingers drift inside, their midfielders surge forward, it's systematic disorder designed to overwhelm opponents. Now imagine that system with a striker who doesn't just occupy defenders, but manipulates them. Gyökeres pulls the center back out of position, and suddenly there's a canyon of space for Odegaard to exploit. He drifts wide to create an overload, and Saka or Madueke has acres to run into. This is positional play perfected. Not rigid formations, but fluid intelligence. Arsenal can now morph from 4-3-3 to 3-2-5 in possession, with Gyökeres as the central axis around which everything rotates. Unlike a traditional target man who stays static, or a false 9 who drops too deep, Gyökeres gives Arsenal something unprecedented, a striker who can play anywhere and everywhere on the pitch, but always knows exactly where to be when the ball hits the net. And then there are the set pieces. Arsenal were already dangerous from dead balls, second in the Premier League for set piece goals last season. Now they have a 6'2" Swedish weapon who's lethal in the air and even more dangerous on the ground. Those perfectly weighted corners from Rice or Odegaard, yard? They now have a target who attacks the ball like his life depends on it. Those free kicks from 25 yards? They now have someone who can bury the rebound before the goalkeeper has even hit the ground. But here's the tactical revolution that should terrify everyone else. Gyökeres doesn't just make Arsenal better in attack, he makes them better everywhere. His pressing triggers Arsenal's high-intensity press. His movement creates space for their wingers. His finishing gives confidence to their creators. His presence changes how opponents set up against them, and Arsenal have been waiting 3 years for teams to finally have to worry about stopping them rather than just containing them. Watch how he presses at Sporting. It's not just running around, it's calculated aggression. He forces defenders into mistakes, wins the ball back in dangerous areas, then either scores himself or creates chances for teammates. In Arteta's system, where the press starts from the front, Gyökeres becomes the tip of the spear in a way that Havertz, for all his intelligence, could never be. This isn't just about adding a goal score. This is about unlocking the full potential of a system that was always one piece away from perfection. Arsenal haven't just signed Viktor Gyökeres, they've completed their evolution. Liverpool thought they had breathing room. Arne Slot inherited Klopp's legacy, rebuilt their midfield, and watched from the top of the table as Arsenal stumbled through another striker crisis. They had Mohamed Salah still delivering magic. They had their system humming. They had their rhythm. What they didn't have was an answer to what Arsenal just unleashed. Because while Liverpool were managing their squad, Arsenal were building something completely different. Not just a team, a weapon system. Liverpool have individual brilliance. Arsenal now have systematic devastation. Pep Guardiola knows what elite strikers can do. He had Messi, he had Aguero, he's coached against Benzema, he is coaching Haaland, but even Pep couldn't hide his admiration after Gyökeres tore his Manchester City defense apart. He's a complete player, Guardiola said after that 4-1 Champions League humiliation. Strong, fast, intelligent, clinical, very difficult to stop. This is Pep Guardiola, the man who rarely gives opponents credit, openly admitting that Gyökeres is a problem he couldn't solve. And now that problem plays for Arsenal. Every time City faces Arsenal this season, Guardiola will remember that night in Lisbon. He'll remember how his world-class defenders looked like schoolboys. He'll remember how his tactical adjustments meant nothing against pure, relentless finishing ability. Manchester United, they're still trying to figure out what century they're playing in, while Arsenal executed a masterclass in modern transfer strategy, identifying their need, targeting their man, and closing the deal with surgical precision. United spent the summer chasing shadows and wondering why their scattergun approach wasn't working. They had chances to sign Gyökeres. He was available. He was interested. But United's indecision, their internal chaos, their inability to present a clear vision, it all played into Arsenal's hands. While United debated and delayed, Arsenal moved with purpose. While United offered more money to agents and intermediaries, Arsenal offered something better to the player: certainty, ambition, and a guarantee that he'd be the missing piece in a championship puzzle. This is Arsenal returning to their DNA. The great Arsenal teams didn't just play beautiful football, they had strikers who were assassins. Ian Wright's hunger, Dennis Bergkamp's artistry, Thierry Henry's otherworldly combination of pace, power, and precision. For 20 years, Arsenal have been trying to replace that tradition. They've tried everything veterans past their prime, young prospects who weren't ready, converted wingers who lacked the killer instinct. Gyökeres isn't just another attempt, he's the resurrection. He has Wright's physicality, Bergkamp's intelligence, and something approaching Henry's clinical edge. More importantly, he has what all great Arsenal strikers had: the absolute certainty that when the chance comes, the ball will hit the back of the net. The fear is spreading across the Premier League, not just because Arsenal have signed a great striker, but because of what it represents. Arsenal have shown they can identify exactly what they need and go get it. They've shown they can outmaneuver bigger clubs, richer clubs, more desperate clubs. They've shown that their project isn't just talk, it's execution. Other managers are now doing the math. Arsenal finished second last season without a proper striker. They pushed City and Liverpool to the limit with makeshift solutions and tactical innovations. Now they have a striker who scored 54 goals in 52 games. They have depth everywhere. They have tactical flexibility. They have hunger. But perhaps the most terrifying thing for Arsenal's rivals isn't what happens on the pitch. It's what happens in the stands. Emirates' stadium was already becoming a fortress again. The crowd was finding its voice. The atmosphere was building. Now they have a striker worth getting excited about. about. A player who will have them on their feet from the first minute to the last. A goal scorer who turns every attack into a moment of anticipation. The psychological shift is massive. Teams used to come to Emirates knowing they could frustrate Arsenal, could sit deep and hope their lack of clinical finishing would show. Now they're coming to face a team with no weaknesses, no obvious way to stop them, no comfort zone to hide in. Arsenal haven't just signed Viktor Gyökeres. They've announced to the Premier League that the era of almost is over. The era of dominance has begun. Think about what Arsenal have assembled in one summer. Zubamendi to control games, Madueke to terrorize flanks, Mosquera to solidify defense, and now Gyökeres, the Swedish hurricane who doesn't just score goals, but changes the entire gravitational pull of how teams approach Arsenal. This isn't squad building. This is empire construction. In the modern game, every season brought the same questions. Are Arsenal ready? Can they finally get over the line? Do they have what it takes? Those questions just became irrelevant. Because what Arsenal have created isn't just a team capable of winning titles, it's a machine designed to win everything. They can now match any team's intensity, outplay any tactical system, and when games get tight, when moments matter most, they have a striker who specializes in making the impossible look routine. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Liverpool are in transition, City are showing cracks, United are in chaos, Chelsea are rebuilding. This was Arsenal's window and they didn't just open it, they kicked the door off its hinges. Arsenal are back, not back to being competitive, not back to being hopeful, back to being inevitable. So to the rest of the Premier League, Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United, and everyone else who thought they could keep Arsenal in their place forever, your time is up. You had 20 years to enjoy life without a truly great Arsenal team, 20 years to win titles without looking over your shoulders, 20 years of Arsenal being the team that might challenge rather than the team that will dominate. Those 20 years are over. Arsenal have signed the future, and that future doesn't just look bright for Arsenal fans, it looks absolutely terrifying for everyone else. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in because this is why the Premier League must fear Arsenal signing Viktor Gyökeres.